Metcalf, another day, another prospect. The train keeps on burning. Today we're talking for 30 and 30 for no ceilings NBA draft. We're talking about Karter Knox, Arkansas sophomore, was a big time recruit. He spent some time with the OTE and overtime elite. For those that don't know, 6'6", 220. I think had some moments during his freshman year, was starting to really come along as the season ended. This looks like the player that should have all of the tools to be like an NBA forward, a perimeter guy that could really develop and have some upside. Some big games, SEC tournament, he had 14 and 4 assists, 20 points in their final game against Texas Tech in the Sweet 16 on 6 rebounds and 75% for the field. He was on fire. So I think with Karter, we're all expecting that leap to happen because he was a big time recruit. He was one that we're like, okay, maybe it's not going to happen as a one and done, but this is probably a guy that's at the top of a lot of people's lists as like, hey, here's the sophomore breakout candidate to make some noise in the draft space.
It's really tricky because like one of the things throughout these videos that we've been talking about is what does it like, can you be consistent, and what do you look like when you get more opportunity and more minute share and more responsibility? And I think both of those apply directly to Knox because for most of the year, he's basically an afterthought out there, just basically out there for, oddly enough, his defense and his rebounding and his size. Whereas we kind of thought he was going to be this really dynamic, big time off ball shooter, at least I did, going into the year. And that just unfortunately wasn't the case. And the vast majority, almost just under 80% of his jumpers came off the catch last year. And he ranked in just the 27th percentile shooting off the catch and 29.7% from three. That's not good enough. He has to be better there. And as the season went on, we started to see that. Whereas from February 1st through the end of the season, shot 46.2% from three. Love that number. Only 4.5 attempts per 100 possessions. So would love that to be a little higher. But we saw him get a little more comfortable on the offensive end as the season went on. But there's still a lot of room to grow and improve.
It's exactly what you said. He started out the year, we thought this was going to be a name that could have been a one and done caliber type of player if he hit the ground running. But first, 7 games, he was averaging 4.9 points per game, 3 rebounds on, 30, 17, 75. That's not going to get it done. But look at the end of the year, he was averaging double digits in, 2 consecutive months, shooting a much higher clip. You started to see the confidence developing. And I think that's what we love that's what I love as an evaluator, is when you could start to see like, this is where you pair that with a big off season and you just unleash for the second year. We've seen guys like Jaden Ivey have those big jumps. What else do you want to see with his game specifically to get you like, hey, I'm really in on Karter Knox and it's all happening. It's all coming together.
Yeah, and it's really tricky because I don't know what he's going to be afforded to do. Like, I would love if he just turned into this dynamic playmaker and on-ball creator and scorer. I don't think that's ever going to happen, or at least ever is a big word. But I don't think that's going to happen this year, especially when you look at their roster with guys like Malik Thomas, Darius Acuff, DJ Wagner, Billy Richmond. Like, all of those guys are going to have the ball in their hands way more than Knox is. So in the final 2 months, you referenced a couple games where a handful of assists, but I'm not sure we're ever going to see him consistently or prominently in a role other than as a spot up shooter. So it's like, if that's all you're being able to show us, you better shoot the crap out of the ball and defend at a really high level. So I really liked what his defense looked like throughout most of the year. It's just, can you be a consistent shooter? And I hate to boil it down to that simplified of a fact, but once that outside shoot, like if he's over 40% from three on higher volume to start the year, now we're going to see defenders close out a little harder on him, run him off his spots. And then those are the situations where we can hopefully see, all right, what does the handle look like? What does the playmaking look like? What does the rim pressure look like? What happens when you're taken off your platform and made uncomfortable? Because outside of those situations, I'm not sure we're going to see him be given the ball and allowed to show us any of that.
I think that's the one thing that is probably having a lot of evaluators and scouts a little bit pausing, when it comes to like, okay, this is the slam dunk big sophomore guy. I think a lot of people are like, well, this could be a tough situation just because this is a really talented incoming freshman class with a lot of guys that score, that need touches, that need the ball in their hands. So I think you're onto something there when it comes to like, hey, with Karter Knox this year. For me personally, I just want to see how you can be an impact without the ball. I know there's been flashes and back to his OTE days of like, hey, you could really be a threat when it comes to scoring, but can you be tough defensively? Can you be, one of those consistent guys that the rest of the team can lean on and step up when your name's called? I think that's going to go a lot longer. It comes to his draft stock than just being like, oh, he's going to go out and get him up. I think it's one of those we need to see if he can just be a two-way talent that's really taking that next step in his development. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and I think something you kind of hinted at there too was there has to be more activity from him on the offensive end. Not with the ball necessarily, but when we look at the distribution of his possessions last year, 128 of his possessions were spotting up. That was 44% of the time. When we compare that to his cuts, 12 at 4.1% of his possessions. That's not good enough. He's a good enough athlete. He's big enough where he's got to be more active off the ball, cutting. And what that also creates, it might not directly lead to a bucket for him, but it also creates offensive rebounding opportunities for him. And he only had 16 possessions that ended in an offensive rebound. That those numbers are too low. And what that tells me is he was complicit and okay with just standing in the corner, spotting up. I'm sure that's a lot of what the instruction he was given, but it's got to be more than that. There's got to be more activity, because if he's able to generate extra possessions and get easier looks at the rim and get a little bit more in a rhythm and not allow defenders to just zone out and turn off when they're guarding him, it's really going to do wonders for Arkansas's offense overall.
Yeah, this is going to be one Metcalf. I think that we're going to try to wait and see like how quick is that leap going to happen, because
Yeah.
I think we also have to be at the same time, you got to be patient because of the situation and how many mouths they're going to have to feed when it comes to, Malik Thomas. There's a couple, they got a lot of talented players on that team. So going to be interesting to see, but another one bites the dust. Metcalf, we are marching on 30 prospects, 30 days. Thank you guys for joining us. Every day we are going to be breaking down another prospect in this draft class that you need to get excited about as we get closer to the start of draft season. So check it out. No Ceilings NBA every day. We will have a new prospect. Thank you guys for always your support. Thank you.